Hello, BookTube. I've got a little mail for you, just a couple of packages that I thought we'd open together. It's a overcast, snow squally Saturday afternoon. The morning was not overcast. The morning was bright, sunny, and beautiful, and really good. Even I, who firmly believe that you make your own circumstances, and a lot of times, and a lot of occasions, some mornings are better than others. And this morning was really good. It was a really crisp walk outside with the bean. I savaged a couple of books, which is always very pleasant to do. I Voxered with a lot of people, although the savaging of books left me with a slight fraction of unsatisfaction because, every once in a while I look over the fence at those critics, my brethren in my profession who like everything they review. And every once in a while I pine for that. I think, wouldn't that be nice to live in that world? But then I come to my senses. And the same thing with Voxering. I Voxered with a whole bunch of people this morning, but not with Jack Edwards, the demon smurf. You'd think that after all the hellfire I've rained down on his lie fest of a pair of BookTube channels that I wouldn't want to Voxer with him, but the heart wants what the heart wants. And he is still elusive. But all good things come to an end. I did all of that stuff, and then it started snowing. And it's still snowing, but snow is really in the air. It's not really on the ground, so I don't know if that's going to get worse at sunset, but fortunately, I'm not going to have to suffer through it. I do not have an all-terrain vehicle dog like I've had many times before with many beagles. This little dog is full of heart. She is the boss of the territory, but she does not like inclement weather. She doesn't like mornings, and she doesn't like inclement weather. If it's a pleasant, bright, warm, sunny day, then she's as happy to go outside and walk as any human would be. But her dislike of going out walking goes down the same way most humans do. I myself have a soft spot for trekking out in really messy weather, cold rain. It's a soft spot that was already there, but it was significantly exaggerated when I stayed in Donegal, where you get cold rain about 364 days out of the year. I had dogs there that were willing to tramp out in all weathers, just at any time. There's a particular pleasure in it. That I don't get to experience now because Frida would consider that a punishment, so I don't do it. But anyway, we've got a couple of packages here to go through. There's no reason this has to be long, especially since any videos that I make today will be the calm before the storm. Yes, right, the calm before the storm, because tomorrow at 4 Boston time we have our second Steve stream. The first one was so much fun that I'm not even going to wait a week. I'm going to do the second one tomorrow at 4. Boston time. So, be there, as the old saying goes, be there and be square. But anyway, what is this next one? Oh, okay, all right. Okay, this is a finished copy of something that I have an ebook of, but I don't think I ever got the paperback advance. This comes out in early April, and my new bookcase for advanced copies, gone are the days. I mean, for 2 years because of the pandemic, my bookcase full of review copies went from a full bookcase to a shelf, not even a whole shelf. Now it's inching its way back to a whole bookcase again, and that's fine by me. That's absolutely fine by me. This hardcover is by Bill Morris, and it's called The Age of Astonishment. John Morris in the Miracle Century, from the Civil War to the Cold War. I don't know anything about this, but I'm assuming that John Morris is related to Bill Morris. Let's find out. It all began with a black and white family snapshot of an elderly gentleman with a fine head of spun sugar hair. He was wearing tortoiseshell glasses and a 3-piece suit while balancing a swaddled infant on his knee. That baby is Bill Morris, and the man is his grandfather, John Morris. That photo is taken in November of 1952, the month the United States detonated the first hydrogen bomb. 3 years later, John Morris died at the age of 92, and though Bill has no memories of the man, even as a boy he found himself marveling at the changes John must have witnessed and experienced in his long lifetime. What a great idea for a book. That is a great idea for a book. So Bill is an acclaimed journalist and novelist, and in this book he paints a rich and vivid portrait of America's modernization by tracing the life of one man who lived through it all. 1870 to 1970. Called the Special Century, was a period of life-altering inventions and economic growth in the United States that is unmatched in human history. It is also very nearly the dates of John's birth and death. Oh, this sounds fantastic. It's early April, and I've got so many March books to read that even though it's relatively close, I don't think I can justify reading this tonight, but that sounds really, really good. I might quibble with some of the technological superlatives here. I think the technological advances from 1970 to now, for instance, eclipse what happened from 1870 to 1970, but I'm sure there'd be plenty of people who would argue with me, including this author. So John was born into a slave-owning Virginia family during the Civil War and died at the peak of the Cold War. His childhood was lit by kerosene and candles, traversed by foot and horseback, and shaped by the steam engine and the telegraph. He would live through the Reconstruction, booms and busts, women's suffrage, urbanization, prohibition, labor unrest, the Great Depression, 2 world wars, the Korean War, and the advent of nuclear weapons. Though he was from a slave-owning family, his views changed as he grew into adulthood and he began working against the horrors of Jim Crow America. Deep in the Bible Belt, John was agnostic, perhaps even atheist, and held remarkably progressive beliefs on race relations, child rearing, women's rights, and religious freedom. Okay, yeah, but he saw a lot of other things too happen, right? It isn't just that he was a precursor to Twitter. It's that he saw a lot of other things happen as well. I hope that isn't the crux on which this book was sold. And in a traditionally bellicose region, he was a lifelong pacifist. He was, in a word, a misfit, but one whose story embodies a pivotal generation in American history. Okay, great. Well, this sounds fantastic. It's a little too far in the future for me to jump right to it, but it sounds fantastic. Oh, look at that. Wow. I opened it at random just to put the pub sheet in. I got to a chapter called Far Worse Than Hanging, and the picture that starts it off is a picture of the very first electric chair. Oh my. I wonder who the first person that it was used on was. They'll probably tell me in this book. I haven't read. There was a narrative history of the electric chair about 25 years ago that I didn't read. I never got around to it. I've never seen it since. Don't even remember its name. But that would probably have told me too who the first person electrocuted was and what it was like. I'm sure I'd want to know. Then we have the second package here, and then we'll be done. A very brief mail haul. That's just as well, because despite the fact that I have savaged a couple of books, I have lots to do today. This is another finished copy. Oh, great. Okay, I heard about this from a booktuber. And then I heard about it from the publicist, and everybody made it sound great. And this comes out on March 15th, which is over and done with. So, March 15th, so a month from now. This is so perfect for March Mystery Madness. This is The Book of Cold Cases by Simon St. James. Let's see what we have here. New York Times bestselling and award-winning author Simone. It's not Simon St. James, it's Simone St. James. Writes the kind of stories that keep you looking over your shoulder and leaving all the lights on while you read. Now St. James is back with her most spine-chilling tale yet, which comes out on March 15th in a well-designed hardcover. This is a pretty well-designed hardcover. Rainy night, house all lit up. The car is lit up too, but the door is open. There's no one in there. That's pretty suggestive. Okay, she's a star on the rise, but we want to know about the book. Let's tell us about the book. The Book of Cold Cases focuses on a true crime blogger who gets more than she bargained for while interviewing the woman acquitted of 2 cold case slayings. Already named the most anticipated read by Pop Sugar, Bustle, Goodreads, Book Riot, and more, this enticingly thrilling story will appeal to fans of true crime and atmospheric, heart-pounding suspense. So now that I read that, I'm wondering, if I'll ever find out where I originally heard about this book. Sounds like it's got a lot of buzz. In this book, Beth Greer, the prime suspect for 2 seemingly random murders, was acquitted and has since retreated to the isolation of her mansion in 1977. 40 years later, Shay Collins runs a true crime website, The Book of Cold Cases, a passion fueled by the attempted abduction she escaped as a child. When she meets Beth by chance, Shay asks her for an interview. To Shay's surprise, Beth agrees. They meet regularly at Beth's mansion, though Shay is never comfortable there. Items move when she's not looking, and she could swear she's seen a girl outside the window. The allure of learning the truth about the lady killer murders from the smart, charming Beth is too much to resist, but even as they grow closer, Shay senses something isn't right. But is she making friends with a manipulative murderer, or are there other dangers lurking in the darkness of the Greer house? Oh my, all right, well, this also sounds very tempting, but this is also something, I mean, this is at least a March book, so I can get to this, but I don't think I can do it tonight. I've got, oh, I do. I feel a little depressed. No, the sun's not out. Poor little bean. She's such a house dog. If it's beautiful weather, she's happy. Even if she's not out in it, she's happy. If it's gloomy, boo. She gets the blahs. She's one of the first dogs I've ever had that gets the blahs. She is so perfectly, I want to say engineered, but you know what I mean. Bred. Her breed has been so perfectly sculpted to live with humans indoors. It shows so much that for instance, hounds aren't like that. I've only ever had mostly hounds in my life. I had last time I had a hound and a working dog, but mostly I've had hounds in my life. And no matter how much couch potatoes beagles or basset hounds might be, they were bred for centuries to do work outside, and it kind of shows. It kind of shows. Even when they get pampered, it's there's a different feel. There's a different kind of responsivity. Frida very much is an indoor civilized city dog. Anyway, so we have nonfiction and fiction. The Book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James and The Age of Astonishment by Bill Morris, about his grandfather, who lived from 1870 to 1970, roughly. And this is all about the changes. You can see all the changes on the cover there. Fantastic. A fantastic pairing. They both intrigue me, but I think if I'm going to read one tonight, it's going to be The Book of Cold Cases. And I might do that anyway, even though it's not right around the corner, because I am kind of curious. You know, there is such a thing as buzz for books. A lot of it is completely artificially manufactured. I think a lot of it was artificially manufactured in this case. But the premise does sound good. And I'm sure that some of the buzz that I've heard about this thing is genuine. And that makes me curious, right? That makes me curious as it would anybody else. So maybe I'll bump this up and read this tonight. It won't take long to do. It's not a big thing. It won't take long to do. It won't get much in the way of the other things I want to do tonight. But first, back to the trenches, which is hard to call that way when you love the trenches. But I'm going to call it that anyway to drum up whatever artificial sympathy I can. And then tomorrow, I will make a couple of videos so that we can talk tomorrow. But we get to talk directly tomorrow, or as close as we're going to get, until I have all of you here, until I have 200 people in this room for wine and calzones. These live streams are as close as we get to talking directly. And that happens tomorrow. 4 Boston time. Be there and be square. So I will see a lot of you then, and I'll be back tomorrow. Thank you, BookTube.